Discords and all that jazz.
Here, I think.
Thank you so much
No
again.
one wants to hear Makari. Sorry, Makari. I do enjoy you, but for today, I don't think everyone wants to listen as I stream some ASMR. And boop. Oh, I don't want to mute that. The scuff must flow, you know. For it must always flow. So today, darling, I am going to read you. Well, isn't that nice? So today, darling, I am going to read to you a wonderful story. It is A Christmas Carol, Stave free. I greatly recommend checking out my previous ASMR, but, you know, I gotta be honest, you don't always need to listen to the previous stuff. You can just enjoy what you have. I know that for a fact. But I do hope you enjoy everything, darling. And yeah, please just enjoy this beautiful, beautiful story. It's written by Charles Dickens way back when, which is kind of odd when you think about it, because just how long does it normally take for a story to become a little bit dated? I think this is a wonderful example of how long it may take for a story to run its course. But please do enjoy. Hi again. Welcome in, hon. I do hope you're having a magical morning. Well, I know you are. And Lulu, Lukey, darling, welcome in. This is your first time in chat, I believe, and please do enjoy your stay. And yes, thank you, May. I saw you subbed last night, or at least yesterday night. I thank you so much for doing that. It means quite a lot for me, especially since I do enjoy near everyone here. But thank you. And hi, Panda darling. Also, Kane, that link you sent me, I think it expired. But to the story now. I don't think you want me to do the preamble for too long now. Stave free, the second of the three spirits. Awakening in the middle of this prodigiously tough snore, and sitting up in bed to get his thoughts together, Scrooge had no occasion to be told that the bell was again to strike of 1. He felt that he was restored to consciousness in the right nick of time, for the especial purpose of holding a conference with the second messenger dispatched to him through Jacob Marley's intervention. But finding that he turned uncomfortably cold when he began to wonder which of his curtains his new spectre would draw back, he put them every one aside with his own hands, and lying down again, establishing a sharp lookout all round the bed. Egg, darling, welcome in. I just started to read, and you frankly only missed, I think, maybe 2 at most sentences, so ain't much of a draw. A sharp lookout all round his bed. For, he wished to challenge the spirit of the moment of its appearance, and did not wish to be taken by surprise, and made nervous. Gentlemen of free and easy sort, who plume themselves on being acquainted with a move or two, and being usually equal to the time of day, express a wide range of their capacity for adventure, by observing that they are good for anything from pitch to toss to manslaughter. That turned deep. Between which opposite extremes, no doubt there lies a tolerably wide and comprehensive range of subjects. Oh, Fanta. Darling, welcome in. I didn't know you'd actually come, but thank you. please do enjoy, and it means a lot for me. And Nico, welcome. I think I might stream it this time more. Seems everyone likes it. Between which opposite extremes, no doubt, there lies a tolerably wide and comprehensive range of subjects, without venturing for Scrooge quite as heartily as this. I don't mind calling on you to believe that he was ready for a good broad field of strange appearances. And anyone who wants to hear a cutie read, this is Fanta. Just enjoy their voice, it's quite great. And don't mind me itching a spot in my face that's dry, but oh, you're a sucker for deep voices. Make me blush. But yes, back to reading. I don't mind calling on you to believe that he was ready for a good broad field of strange appearances, and that nothing between a baby and a rhinoceros would have astonished him very much. Now, being prepared for almost anything, he was not by any means prepared for nothing, and consequently, when the bell struck 1, and no shape appeared, he was taken for a violent fit of trembling. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, oh, sorry there, bud. Now, I gotta be honest, whoever is having those bots is appearing in a lot. And I do mean a lot of streams. I've been having to ban so many. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, a quarter of an hour went by, yet nothing came. All this time he lay upon his bed, the very core and center of a blaze of ruddy light, which streamed upon it when the hour proclaimed, when the clock proclaimed the hour, and which, being only light, was more amazing than a dozen ghosts. He was powerless to make out what it meant, or what it would be at, and was sometimes comprehensive that he might be at that very moment an interesting case of spontaneous combustion. Remember Vittorian's had a session about that. Without having the consolation of knowing it. At last, however, he began to think, as you or I would have thought at first, for it was always a person not of the predicament who knows what ought to have been done in it, and would unquestionably have done it too, at least, I say. He began to think that the source and seeker of this ghostly light may be in the adjoining room, from whence, on further tracing it, it seemed to shine. This idea taking full possession of his mind, he got up softly and shuffled in his slippers to the door. The moment Scrooge's hand was on the lock, a strange voice called him by his name and bade him to enter. He obeyed. It was his own room, there is no doubt about it, but had undergone surprising transformation. The walls and ceiling were so hung with living green that it looked like a perfect grove, from which every part bright gleaming berries glistened. Welcome in, Skeledarlin. Ooh. Is that a Christmas rat jam? It is. You and your obsession with rats. This is Skell, by the way, Darlins. He is, well, I can't quite remember your pronouns, whether you go by he, him, or they. But they're a wonderful streamer, and I greatly enjoy them and recommend them if you just want to have a fun time. They don't really do ASMR, but Pluto, welcome in. Yeah. Pluto. Last time I remember you were in Heiches and they were making something for you. Anyway, let me find out where I was last reading, darling. No problem, Pluto. Always for a wonderful person. Oh, that would be, Skeleton. have a wonderful thing where they just put rats everywhere, and it's honestly quite cute and endearing. Okay, zone room, but grow from which every part bright gleaming berries glistened. The crisp leaves of holly, mistletoe, and ivy reflected back the light, as if so many little mirrors had been scattered there, and such a mighty blaze went roaring up the chimney, as that dull petrification of a hearth had never known in Scrooge's time or Marley's. For many and many a winter's season gone, heaped up upon the floor, to form a kind of throne where turkeys, geese, game, poultry, brawn, great joints of meat, sucking pigs, long reefs of sausages and mince pies, plum puddings, barrels of oysters, red-hot chestnuts, cherry-cheeked apples, juicy oranges, luscious pears, immense 12 cakes, and seething bowls of punch that made the chamber dim in their delicious steam. In easy state upon this couch there sat a jolly giant, glorious to see, who bore a glowing torch, in shape not unlike Plenty's horn, and held it up upon high, to shed its light on Scrooge, as he came peeping round the door. "Come in," exclaimed the ghost. "Come in, and know me better, man." Scrooge entered timidly, and hung his head before the spirit. He was not the dogged Scrooge he had been, though the spirit's eyes were clear and kind. He did not like to meet them. "I am the ghost of Christmas present," said the spirit. "Look upon me." Scrooge reverently did so. It was clothed in one simple green robe or mantle, bordered with white fur. This garment hung so closely on the figure that its capacious breast was bare. Oh, whoa, like Daniel Craig, if you know what I mean, as if disdaining to be warded or concealed by any artifice. Its feet, observably beneath the ample folds of the garments, were also bare. Oh, whoa. And on its head it wore no other covering than holly wreath, set here and there with shining icicles. Its dark brown curls were long and free from its genial face, its sparkling eye, its open hand, its cheery voice, its unconstrained demeanor, and its joyful air. Girdled round its middle was an antique scabbard, but no sword was in it, and the ancient sheath was eaten up with rust. I did just say, oh, whoa. Oh, thank you, Skeledaron. Oh, and Fanta, I'm making a wonderful little collage of members of the community. So, if you'd like, hop on Discord. You'll find me under the name of Felix in many wonderful people's servers. I don't remember the numbers under it, but Felix with 2 X's, and it'll be a cursed little profile pic. If you'd like, could you send me a little clip of your model so I could add it to my wonderful cursed images? I'll be making a banner for Twitter, or not Twitter, but Twitch and YouTube. So please send it there. Same thing if you Pluto, if you want to send it. No. The first thing you watched was the Chaotic Rat stream. Oh, thank you. Let me go accept that. There. And thank you very much, Fanta. Let me check last message. Oh, thank you. Good night, Lukey, and have a wonderful night. Sleep well. Now back to the stream. I have to go read for wonderful people. "You have never seen the like of me before," exclaimed the spirit. "Never," said Scrooge. have never walked forth with the younger members of my family, meaning my elder brothers, born in these later years, pursued the phantom. I don't think I have, said Scrooge. I am afraid I have not. Have you had many brothers, Spirit? More than 800. Oh, more than 1800, said the ghost. A tremendous family to provide for, muttered Scrooge. The ghost of Christmas past rose. Spirit, said Scrooge submissively. Oh, woe. Conduct me where you will. I went forth last night on compulsion. I learned a lesson which is now working. Tonight, if you have aught to teach me, let me profit by it. Touch my robe. Ooh, that's a bit woey. No problems. If you're a PNG tuber, that's not really a problem. Ooh, woo, rar, XD nuzzles. Scrooge did as he was told and held it fast. Holly, mistletoe, red berries, ivy, turkeys, geese, game, poultry, brawn, meat, pigs, sausages, oysters, pies, puddings, fruit, and punch all vanished instantly. So did the room, the fire, the ruddy glow, the hour of night, and they stood in the city streets on Christmas morning, where the people made a rough but brisk and not unpleasant kind of music, in scraping the snow from the pavement in front of their dwellings, and from the tops of their houses, whence it was made delight to the boys to see it come down, plumping down into the road below, and splitting into artificial little snowstorms. The house fronts looked black, though, or black enough, and the windows blacker, contrasting with the smooth white sheet of snow upon the roofs, and with dirtier the snow upon the ground, which last deposit had been plowed up in deep furrows by the heavy wheels of carts and wagons, furrows that crossed and recrossed each other hundreds of times, where the great streets branched off and made intricate channels. I apologize for any words I messed up. I spent the last 4 hours talking to a cutie in wonder, and I don't regret it, but I just need a little bit more caffeine, you know. Hard to trace in the thick yellow mud and icy water. The sky was gloomy, and the shortest streets were choked up in a dingy mist, half thawed, half frozen, whose heavier particles descended in showers, sooty atoms, as if all the chimneys in Great Britain had, by one consent, caught fire, and were blazing away to their dear heart's content. There was nothing very cheerful in the climate or town, yet was there an air of cheerfulness abroad that the clearest summer air and brightest summer sun might have endeavored to diffuse in vain. For the people who were shoveling away on the housetops were jovial and full of glee, calling out to one another from the parapets, and now and then exchanging a facetious snowball, better-natured missile far than many a wordy jest, laughing heartily if it went right, and not less heartily if it went wrong. The poulterers' shops were still half open, and the fruiters were radiant in their glory. There were great round pot-bellied baskets of chestnuts, shaped like the waistcoats of jolly old gentlemen, lolling at the doors and tumbling out into the street, into their apoplectic opulence. There were ruddy, brown-faced, broad-girthed Spanish friars, and winking from their shelves in wonted slightness at the girls as they went by, and glanced demurely at the hung-up mistletoe. There were pears and apples, clustered high in blooming pyramids. There were bunches of grapes, made in a shopkeeper's benevolence to dangle from the conspicuous hooks, that people's mouths might water gratis as they passed. There were piles of filberts, mossy and brown, recalling in their fragrance ancient walks among the woods, and pleasant shufflings ankle-deep through the withered leaves. There were Norfolk biffins and squab and swathery, setting off the yellow of the oranges and lemons, and, in the great compactness of their juicy persons, urgently entreated and beseeched to be carried home in paper bags and eaten after dinner. The very gold and silver fish set forth among these choice fruits in a bowl, though members of a dull and stagnant-blooded race, appeared to know that there was something going on, and to a fish went gasping round and round in their little world in slow, passionless excitement. Now, if you excuse me, darling, I'm going to fill up my cup with water, just to hear the wonderful noises. The grocers, oh, the grocers nearly closed, with perhaps 2 shutters down, or 1. But though these gaps such glimpses, it was not alone that the scales descending on the counter made a merry sound, or that the twine and roller parted company so briskly, or that the canisters were rattled up and down like juggling tricks, or even that the blended scents of tea and coffee were so grateful to the nose, or even that the raisins were so plentiful and rare, the almonds so extremely white, the sticks of cinnamon so long and straight, not like me, the other spices so delicious, the candied fruits so caked and spotted with molten sugar, as to make the coldest lookers on feel faint and subsequently bilious. Oh, if you like that, I can certainly do some more if you want me to, Fanta. Nor was it that the figs were moist and plumpy, or that the French plums blushed. 1,200. Welcome in, or 12,000. Welcome in, darling. Please do enjoy. And it's been a while, so please relax. Where was I? French plums blushed in modest tartness from their highly decorated boxes, or that everything was good to eat, and in its Christmas dress, but the customers were all so hurried and so eager in the hopeful promise of the day that they tumbled up against each other at the door, crashing their wicker baskets wildly, and left their purchases upon the counter, and came running back to fetch them, and committed hundreds of the like mistakes, in the best humor possible. Well, who made that? Rubo VO. Never seen that before, but it certainly seems nice. While the grocer and his people were so frank and fresh that the polished hearts with which they fastened their aprons behind might have been their own, worn outside for general inspection, and that for Christmas daws to peck at, if they would choose. But soon the steeples called good people all to church and chapel, and away they came, flocking through the streets in their best clothes, with their gayest faces, and at the same time there emerged from scores of by-streets, lanes, and nameless turnings innumerable people carrying their dinners to the baker's shop. The sight of these poor revelers appeared to interest the spirit very much, for he stood with Scrooge beside him in a baker's doorway, and taking off the covers as their bearers passed, sprinkled incense on their dinners from his torch, and it was very uncommon kind of torch, for once or twice when there were angry words between the dinner carriers who jostled each other, he shed a few drops of water on them from it, and their good humor was restored directly. Now, what was it you think you misheard, Fanta darling? I am certainly mispronouncing a few words, mostly ones that have fallen out of favor and that even I don't know. But I do hope you're enjoying this. Let me just go do a stretch. Okay. For they said it was a shame to quarrel upon Christmas Day, and so it was. God love it, so it was. You know, I might have to adjust my harness. Let me do that real quick. It isn't much. In time the bells ceased and the bakers were shut up, and yet there was a genial shadowing forth of all these dinners and the progress of their cooking, in the thawed blotch of wet above each baker's oven, where the pavement smoked as if its stones were cooking too. Oh, expose yourself? Oh, no problem with that here. I'm pretty sure everyone here belongs to some sort of alphabet soup, if you will. So, you can say whatever you want, Fanta. I'm just currently in, if you're curious, I'm currently in some tights, a harness, and some pink and white thigh highs. I do have a photo somewhere, and I could perhaps share that, but I might have to do a very quick cut and then insert it and then take it down, just in case. Is there a peculiar flavor in what you sprinkle from your torch? Asked Scrooge. There is, my own. Would it apply to any kind of dinner on this day? Asked Scrooge. To any kindly given, to a poor one at most. Why to a poor one most? Asked Scrooge. Because it needs it most. Spirit, said Scrooge. After a moment's thought, I wonder you, of all beings and many worlds about us, should desire to cramp these people's opportunities and innocent enjoyment. I, cried the spirit. You would deprive them of their means of dining every 7th day, often the only day on which they can be said to dine at all, said Scrooge, wouldn't you? I, cried the spirit. You seek to close these places on the 7th day, said Scrooge, and it comes to the same thing. I seek, exclaimed the spirit. Forgive me, I am wrong. It has been done in your name, or at least in that of your family, said Scrooge. Now, I'm going to quickly send you the thigh highs which I'm wearing, in case you haven't seen them, or in case you're curious, Fanta. Here's a picture. Hopefully it doesn't have anything too revealing. I don't think it does, but, yeah. I could put that in stream and show everyone what I'm currently wearing. Forgive me if I am wrong. It has been done in your name, or at least in that of your family, said Scrooge. There are some upon this earth of yours, returned the spirit, who lay claim to know us, and who do by their deeds of passion, pride, ill will, hatred, envy, bigotry, and selfishness in our name, who are as strange to us and all out kith and kin, that's a word never heard, as if they never lived, remember that, and change their doings on themselves, not us. Scrooge promised that he would, and they went on, invisible as they had been before, into the suburbs of the town. It was remarkably quality of the ghost that, notwithstanding his gigantic size, he could accommodate himself to any place with ease, and that he stood beneath a low roof quite as gracefully and like a supernatural creature, as if it was possible he could have done in any lofty hall. And perhaps it was the pleasure the good spirit had in showing of his power, or else it had been his own kind, generous, hearty nature, and his sympathy with all poor men, that led him straight to Scrooge's clerks. For there he went, and took Scrooge with him, holding to his robe, and on the threshold of a door the spirit smiled, and stopped to bless Bob Cratchit's dwelling with the sprinkling of his torch, and think that of that. Bob had but 15 bob a week himself, he pocketed on Saturdays, but 15 copies of his Christian name, and yet the ghost a Christmas present blessed his 4-roomed house. Ah, welcome in, Moag. Oh, fun is cooking, hon. You know, I actually might, if you excuse me for just a quick second, darlings, take this image I have here. It's honestly, let me go save image as assets. Okay, and I'll do one quick thing, darlings. I'll just take this image, cut it, and insert it here. I know you want to see it, and frankly I do too. I just want to cut out some things. Let me just go quickly do that. And boop. There, perfect. Ah, welcome in, visitor. So good to have you here, hon. Okay, cut. I'll save that there. And please do excuse the loud vehicles outside. There's honestly just not too much I can do about them. They drive past with broken mufflers. And yeah. Okay, choose image, browse, streaming assets. You're definitely not going to see anything sus. I might honestly make this redeem. So, there, darling, is my 5. Nothing sus here. Okay. Nothing at all. It's definitely not what I'm wearing right now. There. Oh. Good, you just woke up, darling. Welcome in. Ooh, little helicopter passing by. That's what's making the noise. Okay. I think I just made a mistake, chat. I closed the window of which I was reading on. Hi, I'm Felix. I stream. Oh, give me a Christmas. A Christmas Carol, Stave free. But I don't think you really mind, do you, hon? There it is. Okay, back to seeing you, darling. Got to give you what you want now. Oh, thank you, Moag. Oh, I'm using, it's called Twitch Studio. It's yet another branch of OBS, a version, if you will. It's honestly quite easy to use until I use it, but I should probably go OBS at some point. Then up rose Miss Cratchit, Cratchit's wife, of course, dressed out, but poorly in a twice-turned gown, but brave in ribbons, which are cheap and make a goodly show for 6 pence. Well, that's kind. And she laid the cloth, assisted by Belinda Cratchit, second of her daughters, also brave in ribbons, while Master Peter Cratchit plunged a fork into the saucepan of potatoes, and getting the corners of his monstrous shirt collar into his mouth, rejoiced to find himself so gallantly attired, and yearned to show his linen in the fashionable parks. And now 2 smaller Cratchits, boy and girl, came tearing in, screaming that outside the baker's they had smelt the E of the baker. They had smelt the bakers, they had smelt the goose, and know it for their own, basking in luxurious thoughts of sage and onion. I honestly don't like sage. Cancel me. These young Cratchits danced about the table, exalted Master Peter Cratchit to the skies, while he, not proud, although his cowers nearly choked him, blew the fire until the slow potatoes bubbling up, knocked loudly at the saucepan lid to be let out and peeled. What has ever got your precious father, then? Said Mrs. Cratchit, and your brother, Tiny Tim, and Martha Warrant, as late last Christmas Day by half an hour. Here's Marfa, mother, said a girl appearing as she spoke. Here's Marfa, mother, cried the two young Cratchits. Hurrah! There's such a goose, Marfa. Why, bless your heart alive, my dear, how late you are, said Mrs. Cratchit, kissing her a dozen times, and taking her off her shawl and bonnet, with her officious zeal. We'd a deal of work to finish up last night, replied the girl, and had to clear away this morning, mother. Well, never mind so long as you are to come, said Mrs. Cratchit. Sit ye down before the fire, my dear, and have a warm, Lord bless ye. No, no, there's father coming, cried the two young Cratchits, who were everywhere at once. Hide, Martha, hide. So Martha hid herself, and then in came little Bob, the father, with at least 3 of comforter exclusive from the fringe, hanging down before him, and his threadbare clothes darned up and brushed, to look seasonable, and Tiny Tim upon his shoulder. Alas for Tiny Tim, he bore a little crutch, and had his limbs supported by an iron frame. Why, where's our Martha? Cried Bob Cratchit, looking round. Not coming, said Mrs. Cratchit. Not coming, said Bob, with a sudden declension in his high spirits, for he had been Tim's blood horse all the way from the church, and had come home rampant. Not coming upon Christmas Day? Martha didn't like to see him disappointed, if it were only in joke, so she came out prematurely from behind the closet door and ran into his arms, while the two young Cratchits hustled Tiny Tim and bore him off to the wash-house, that he might hear the pudding singing in the copper. And how did little Tim behave, asked Miss Cratchit, when he had rallied Bob on his credulity? And Bob had hugged his daughter to his heart's content. As good as gold, said Bob, and better. Somehow he gets thoughtful, sitting by himself so much, and thinks the strangest things you ever heard. He told me, coming home, that he hoped that people saw him in the church, because he was a cripple, and it might be pleasant for them to remember upon Christmas Day, who made lame beggars walk and blind men see. Bob's voice was so tremulous when he told him this, and trembled more when he said that Tiny Tim was growing strong and hearty. His active little crutch was heard upon the floor, and back came Tiny Tim before another word was spoken, escorted by his brother and sister to his stool before the fire, while Bob, turning up his cuffs, as if, poor fellow, they were capable of being made more shabby, compounded some hot mixture in a jug with gin and lemons, and stirred it round, and put it on the hob to simmer. Master Peter and the two ambiguous young Cratchits went to fetch the goose, with which they soon returned in high procession. Such a bustle ensued that you might have thought a goose of the rarest of all birds, a feathered phenomenon to which a black swan was a matter of course, and in which was something very like it in that house. Miss Cratchit made the gravy, hissing hot. Master Peter mashed the potatoes with incredible vigor. Miss Belinda sweetened up the apple-sauce. Martha dusted the hot plates. Bob took Tiny Tim beside him in a tiny corner at the table. The two young Cratchits set chairs for everybody, not forgetting themselves, and mounting guard upon their post, crammed spoons into their mouths, lest they should shriek for goose before their turn came to be helped. At last the dishes were set on, and grace was said. It was preceded by a breathless pause, as Miss Cratchit, looking slowly all around the carving knife, prepared to plunge it into the breast, but when she did, when the long-expected gush of stuffing issued forth, one murmur of delight arose all round the board. Even Tiny Tim, excited by the two young Cratchits, beat on the table with the handle of his knife, and feebly cried, "Hurrah!" There was Never, there never was such a goose. Bob said he didn't believe there's ever such a goose cooked. Its tenderness and flavor, size and cheapness, were the themes of universal admiration, eked out by the applesauce and mashed potatoes. It was a sufficient dinner for the whole family, indeed, as Miss Cratchit said with great delight. They hadn't ate it at all. They hadn't ate it all at last. Yet everyone had enough, and the youngest Cratchits in particular were steeped in sage and onion to the eyebrows. But now the plates being changed by Mrs. Belinda, Mrs. Cratchit left the room alone, too nervous to bear witness, to take the pudding up and bring it in. Suppose it should not be done enough. Suppose it should break in turning out. Suppose somebody should have gone over the wall of the backyard and stolen it. They were merry with the goose, a superstition at which two young Cratchits became livid. All sorts of horrors were supposed. A great deal of steam. The pudding was out of the copper. A smell like a washing day. That was a cloth. A smell like a eating house and a pastry cook's next door to each other, with a laundress next door to that. There was the pudding in half a minute. Miss Cratchit entered, flushed but smiling proudly, with the pudding like a speckled cannonball, so hard and firm, blazing in half a quartern of ignited brandy, and bedlight of a Christmas holly stuck into the top. Oh, a wonderful pudding, Bob Cratchit said, and calmly too that he had regarded it as a greatest success achieved by Mrs. Cratchit since their marriage. Mrs. Cratchit said that now the weight was off her mind, she would confess that she had her doubts about the quantity of flour. Everybody had something to say about it, but nobody said or thought it was at all a small pudding for a large family. It would have been flat heresy to do so. Any Cratchit would have blushed to hint at such a thing. At last the dinner was all done, the cloth was cleared, the hearth swept, and the fire made up. The compound in the jug being tasted considered perfect, apples and oranges were put upon the table, and a shovel full of chestnuts on the fire. Then, chestnuts roasting on an open fire. Nice song. Then all the Cratchit family withdrew round the hearth, in what Bob Cratchit called a circle, meaning half of one. And at Bob Cratchit's elbow stood the family display of glass, 2 tumblers and a custard cup without a handle. These held the hot stuff from the jug, however, as well as golden goblets would have done, and Bob served it out with beaming looks, while the chestnuts on the fire sputtered and cracked noiselessly. When Bob proposed, "A Merry Christmas to us all, my dears, God bless," which all the family re-echoed. "God bless every one," said Tiny Tim, the last of all. Ooh, I got a burp. Excuse me. That was a good burp. He sat very close to his father's side upon his little stool. Bob held his little withered hand in his, as if he loved the child. That's kind, and wished to keep him by his side, and dreaded that he might be taken from him. "Spirit," said Scrooge, with an interest had he never felt before, "tell me if Tiny Tim will live." "I see a vacant seat," replied the ghost, "in the poor chimney corner, with a crutch without an owner, carefully preserved. If these shadows remain unaltered by the future, the child will die." "No, no," said Scrooge. "Oh, no, kind spirit, say he will be spared." If these shadows remain unaltered by the future, none other than my race, returned the ghost, will find him here. What then, if he will be like to die? He had better to do it, and decrease the surplus population. Scrooge hung his head to hear his own words quoted by the spirit, and was overcome with penitence and grief. Man, said the ghost, if man were to be, you be in heart, not adamant. Forbear that wicked cant, until you have discovered what surplus is, and where it is, will you decide what men shall live and what men shall die. It may be that our sight of heaven, you are more worthless and less fit to live than millions like this poor man's child. O God, to hear the insect on a leaf pronouncing on that too much life among his hungry brothers in the dust. Scrooge bent before the ghost's rebuke, and trembling cast his eyes upon the ground, but he raised them speedily on hearing his own name. Mr. Scrooge, said Bob, I will give you Mr. Scrooge, the founder of the feast. My dear, said Bob, the children, Christmas Day. It should be Christmas Day, I am sure, said she, on which one drinks of the health of such an odious, stingy, hard, unfeeling man as Mr. Scrooge. You know he is, Robert. Nobody knows it better than you do, poor fellow, my dear, was Bob's mild answer. Christmas Day. I'll drink his health for your sake, and the days, said Mrs. Cratchit. Not for his. Long life to him, a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. He'll be very merry and very happy, I have no doubt. The children drank the toast after her. It was the first of their proceedings which had no heartiness. Tiny Tim drank it last of all, but he didn't care twopence for it. Scrooge was the ogre of the family. The mention of his name cast a dark shadow on the party, which was not dispelled for 5 minutes. After it had passed away, they were 10 times merrier than before from the mere relief of Scrooge the Baleful being done with. Bob Cratchit told them that he had a situation for his eye for Master Peter, which would bring in, if obtained, full 5 and 6 pence weekly. The 2 young Cratchits laughed tremendously at the idea of Peter being a man of business, and Peter himself looked thoughtfully at the fire from between his collars, as if he were deliberating what particular investments he should favor when he came into receipt of that bewildering income. Martha, who was a poor apprentice at a milliner's, then told him what kind of work she had to do and how many hours she worked at a stretch, and how she meant to lie abed tomorrow morning for a good long rest. Tomorrow being a holiday she passed at home. Also how she had seen a countess and a lord some days before, and how the lord was much about as tall as Peter, at which Peter pulled at his collars so high you could have seen his head if it had been there. At this time the chestnuts in the jug went round and by they had a song about a lost child traveling in the snow, from Tiny Tim, who had a plaintive little voice, and sang it very well indeed. There was nothing of high mark in this. They were not a handsome family. They were not well dressed. Their shoes were far from being waterproof. Their clothes were scanty, and Peter might have known, and very likely did, the inside of a pawnbroker's, but they were happy, grateful, pleased with one another, and contented with the time. And when they faded and looked happier yet in the bright sprinklings of the spirit's torch at parting, Scrooge had his eye upon them, and especially on Tiny Tim until the last. By this time it was getting dark and snowing pretty heavily, and as Scrooge and the spirit went along the streets, the brightness of the roaring fires in kitchens and parlors and all sorts of rooms was wonderful. Here the flickering of a blaze showed preparations for a cozy dinner, with hot plates baking through and through before the fire, and deep red curtains ready to be drawn to shut out cold and darkness. There all the children of the house were running out into the snow to meet their married sisters, brothers, cousins, uncles, and aunts. And to be the first to greet them, here and again were shadows of the window blind of guests assembling, and there a group of handsome girls, all hooded and fur-booted, all chattering at once, tripped lightly off to some near neighbor's house, where, woe upon a single man who saw them enter, artful witches, well they knew it in a glow. But if you had judged from the numbers of people on their way to friendly gatherings, you might have thought that no one was at home to give them welcome when they got there, instead of every house expecting company and piling up its fires half chimney high, blessing on it while the ghost exalted. How it braved its breath of breast, and opened its capacious palm and floated out, outpouring with a generous hand its bright and harmless mirth on everything within its reach, the very lamplighter who ran on before, dotting the dusky street with specks of light, who was dressed to spend the evening somewhere, laughing out loudly as the spirit passed. Though little need from the lamplighter that he had any company but Christmas. And now, without a word of warning from the ghost, they stood upon the bleak and desert moor, where monstrous masses of rude stone were cast about, as though it were some burial place of giants, and water spread itself wherever it listed, or wherever it had done so. But for the frost that held it prisoner, and nothing grew but moss and furrows, and coarse rank grass. Down in the west the setting sun had left a streak of fiery red, which glared upon the desolation for an instant like a sullen eye, and frowning lower and lower and lower yet, was lost in a thick gloom of the darkest night. "What place is this?" asked Scrooge. "A place where miners live, who labor in the bowels of the earth," returned the spirit. "But they know me. See." A light shone the window of a hut, and swiftly they advanced towards it. Passing through the wall of mud and stone, they found a cheerful company amassed round a glowing fire. An old man, old woman, an old man and woman, with their children and their children's children, and another generation beyond that, all decked out gaily in their holiday attire. The old man, in a voice that seldom rose above the howling of the wind upon the barren waste, was singing them a Christmas song. It had been a very old song when he was a boy, and from time to time they all joined in the chorus, so surely as they raised their voices. The old man had got quite bluff and loud, and so surely as they stopped, his vigor sank again. The spirit did not tarry there, but bade Scrooge hold his robe, and passing on above the moor, sped, whither not a tea to see. To Scrooge's horror, looking back, he saw the last of the land, a frightful range of rocks behind them. His ears were deafened by the thundering of water, as it rolled and roared and raged among the dreadful caverns it had worn, and fiercely tried to undermine the earth. But upon the dismal reef of sunken rocks, in some league or so from shore, on which the waters chafed and dashed the wild year through, there stood a solitary lighthouse. You know what? I honestly think lighthouses and windmills are very cute, very picturesque. Great heaps of seaweed clung to its base, and storm birds born of the wind, one might suppose, as the seaweed of the water rose and fell about it. Like waves they skimmed. But even here 2 men who watched the light, who had made a fire, that though through the loophole of the fixed stone wall shed out a lay of brightness on the awful sea, joining their horny hands over the rough table at which they sat. They wished each other Merry Christmas in their can of grog, and one of them, the elder. I know, it's very weird. Their can of grog. And welcome in, bread. Please do enjoy. I'll do the redeems in just a second, hon. Let me find out where I was last reading. So many you want, bread. Wishing each other Merry Christmas in their can of grog, and one of them, the elder too, with his face all damaged and scarred with hard weather, as the figurehead of his old ship might be, struck out a sturdy strong, like it was a gale in itself. Okay. Yeah. Where did I read that again? Where was the horny hands? That was a weird... Where was that line? Ironically, I just read that line. I can't find it. Ah, that's what it means. That does make sense. Thank you, Vitor. Every noise. Let me go read all the redeems that Brett wanted. There. You want wind and kisses and fish pops and praise. Okay, I'll try and knock these out real efficient. Bread, darling. Bread. You cute little bread. I thank you for coming by, darling. Maybe a bit too loud, but please excuse me for that. You know, you really do deserve these nice, wonderful head pats. And these nice kisses on the forehead and on your neck. Just a second, I got that burp. You know, every time I burp, it's so loud and none of you know it. Thank you, Brett, for coming by. Thank you so much. It really does mean a lot to me. Here, let me give you a nice hug, okay? I thank you, Brett, for coming here. Every time you do, it's just such a pleasure to have you. With all of your breadiness. It's just wonderful, you know. And I thank you so much. You're a good little bread, okay? A good little Vienna Wurst. Or Vienna Brot. Gut. Brot. And there's a nice little kiss on your forehead, darling. There. Now, back to the story. Scratching ASMR. But even here, two men who had watched the light had made a fire. That, though the loophole in the fixed stone wall shed a ray of brightness on the awful sea, joining their horny hands over the rough table at which they sat. They wished each other Merry Christmas in a can of grog, and one of them, the elder too, with his face all damaged and scarred from hard weather, as the figurehead of an old ship might be, struck up a sturdy song that was like a gale itself. And yes, I do know I reread that, but I just wanted to make sure you didn't forget. Again the ghost sped on above the black, heaving sea, on and on until being far away. As he told Scrooge from any shore they lighted on a ship. They stood beside the helmsman on the wheel, and look out in the bow. The officers who had watched dark ghostly figures from their several stations, but every man among them hummed a Christmas tune, or had a Christmas thought, or spoke below his breath to his companion of some bygone Christmas day, with homeward hopes belonging to it. And every man on board, waking or sleeping, good or bad, had a kinder word for another in that day than any other in the year, and had shared to some extent in its festivities, and had remembered those he had cared for at a distance, and had known that they delighted to remember him. I know, those horny hands. Oh, whoa. Very sussy. And sorry about that. Oh, whoa, Fanta. I know it can be a bit jarring. It was a great surprise to Scrooge while listening to the moaning of the wind and thinking what a solemn thing it was to move on through the lonely darkness over an unknown abyss whose depths were secrets as profound as death. It was a great surprise to Scrooge, while thus engaged, to hear a hearty laugh. It was a much greater surprise to Scrooge to recognize it as his own nephew's, and to find himself in a bright, dry, gleaming room, with the spirit standing smiling by his side, and looking at that same nephew with an approving affability. "Ha ha," said Scrooge's nephew. "Ha ha ha. If you should happen by any unlikely chance to know a man more blessed in a laugh than Scrooge's nephew, all I can say is I'd like to know him too. Introduce him to me, and I'll cultivate his acquaintance. It is a fair, even-handed, noble adjustment of things, that while there is infection, disease, and sorrow, there is nothing in the world so irresistibly contagious as laughter and good humor. When Scrooge's nephew laughed in this way, holding his sides, rolling his head, twisting his face in the most extravagant contortions, Scrooge's niece by marriage laughed as heartily as he, and their amassed friends, being not a bit behindhand, roared out lustily, "Ah, ah, 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 ah." "He said that Christmas was a humbug, as I live," cried Scrooge's nephew. "He believed it too." "More shame for him, Fred," said Scrooge's niece, indignantly. "Bless these women, who never do anything by halves. They are always in earnest." She was very pretty, exceedingly pretty, with a dimpled, surprised-looking capital face, in a ripe little mouth that seemed made to be kissed, as no doubt it was, all kinds of good little dots about her chin that melted into one another when she laughed, and when the sunniest pair of eyes you ever saw. In any little creature's head, although she was what you would have called provoking, you know, but satisfactory. "He is a comical old fellow," said Scrooge's nephew. "That's the truth, but not so pleasant that he might be. However, for his offences carry their own punishment, and I have nothing to say against him. He is a comical old fellow. I'm sure he is very rich, Fred," hinted Scrooge's niece, "but unless you always tell me so." "What of that, my dear?" said Scrooge's nephew. "His wealth is of no use to him. He don't do any good with it. He don't make himself comfortable with it. He hasn't the satisfaction of thinking, ha ha ha, that he is ever going to benefit us with it. I have no patience for him, observes Scrooge's niece, Scrooge's niece's sisters, which is just yet another Scrooge's niece, and all the other ladies expressing the same opinion. Oh, I have, said Scrooge's nephew. I'm sorry for him. I couldn't be angry with him if I tried. Who suffers by his ill whims himself, always. Here, he takes it into his head to dislike us, and he won't come and dine with us. What's the consequence? He don't lose much of a dinner. Indeed, I think he loses a very good dinner, interrupted Scrooge's niece. Everybody else said the same, and they must be allowed to have competent judges because they had just dinner, and with dessert upon the table, were clustered around the fire by lamplight. Well, I am very glad to hear it, said Scrooge's nephew, because I haven't great faith in these young housekeepers. What do you say, Topper? Topper had clearly gotten his eye upon one of Scrooge's niece's sisters, for he answered, what a bachelor has wretched. That bachelor was a wretched outcast, who had no right to express an opinion on the subject. Whereat Scrooge's niece's sister, the plump one with the lace tucker, who was not one with the roses, blushed. Do go on, Fred, said Scrooge's niece, clapping her hands. He never finishes what he begins to say. He is always a ridiculous fellow. Scrooge's nephew revelled in another laugh. And as it was impossible for him to keep the infection off, though the plump sister tried hard to do it with aromatic vinegar, his example was unanimously followed. I was only going to say, said Scrooge's nephew, that the consequence of his taking a dislike to us and not making merry with us is, as I think, that he loses some pleasant moments, which could do him no harm. I am sure he loses pleasanter companions than he can find in his own thoughts, either in his mouldy old office or his dusty chambers. I mean to give him the same chance every year, whether he likes it or not, for I pity him. He may rail at Christmas till he dies. He can't help thinking better of it. I defy him. If he finds me going there in good temper year after year and saying, Uncle Scrooge, how are you? If it only puts him in the vein to leave his poor clerk £50, that's something, and I think I shook him yesterday. It was their turn to laugh now at the notion of shaking Scrooge, but being thoroughly good-natured and not caring what they laughed at, and that they laughed at any rate, he encouraged them in their merriment, and passed the bottle joyously. After tea they had some music, for they were a musical family, and knew what they were about, and when they sung in glee or catch, I can assure you, especially Topper, who would growl away at the bass like a good one, never swell the large veins in his forehead, or get red in the face over it. Scrooge's niece played well upon the harp, and played among the other tunes in a simple air, which had been familiar to the child who fetched Scrooge from the boarding school, as he had been reminded by the ghost of Christmas past. When the strain of music sounded, all the things that the ghost had shown him came upon his mind. He softened more and more, and when the thought that if he could have listened to it years ago, he might have cultivated the kindnesses of life for his own happiness with his hands, without resorting to the sexton's spade that buried Jacob Marley. Now I take a little bit of a sippy sip. Sippy, 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 sippy. But they didn't devote the whole evening to music. After a while they played at forfeits, for it is good to be a child. For it is good to be children sometimes, and never better than at Christmas, when its mighty founder was a child himself. Stop. There was first a game at Blind Man's Buff, Of course there was, and I no more believe Topper, who is really blind, than I believe he had eyes in his boots. My opinion is that it was a done thing between him and Scrooge's nephew, and that the ghost of Christmas present knew it. That way he went after that plump sister in the lace tucker was an outrage on the credulity of human nature, knocking down the fire irons. I think I may have to cough. My voice is feeling great. Her throat's feeling great and dry. If you had fallen up against him on purpose, he would have made a feint of endeavoring to seize you, which would have been made affront to your understanding, and would instantly have sidled off the direction of the plump sister. She often cried that it wasn't fair, and it really was not, when at last he caught her, when, in spite of all of her silken rustlings, and her rapid flutterings past him, he got her into a corner whence there was no escape, when his conduct was most execrable, for his pretending not to know her, his pretending that it was necessary to touch her headdress, and further to assure himself of her identity by pressing a certain ring upon her finger, and a certain chain about her neck, was vile and monstrous. No doubt she told him her opinion of it, and another blind man being in office. There was so... Oh, my model got the jiggle. I'll finish this and do a bit more of ASMR, and it'll be a while, so please sit back and relax. I might have to buy some Manuka honey or something. I do know that's quite nice for the throat. They were so very confidential together, behind the curtains. Scrooge's niece was not one of the blind men's buff party, but was made comfortable with a large chair and a footstool in a snug corner where the ghost and Scrooge were close behind her. But she joined in the forfeits and loved her love to admiration of all the letters of the alphabet. Yeah, jiggle. You know? Jiggle a bit. Jiggle a bit. All you gotta do is just jiggle a bit. Jiggle a bit. Jiggle a bit. Doom, 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 doom. Scrooge's niece was not one of the blind man's buff party, but was made comfortable with a large chair and a footstool in a snug corner where the ghost and Scrooge were close behind her, but she joined in their forfeits and loved her love to admiration of all the letters of the alphabet. Likewise, at the game of how, when, and where, she was very great, and to the secret joys Scrooge's nephew beat her sisters hollow. Though there were sharp girls too, as I could have told you. There might have been 20 people there, young and old, and they all played, and so did Scrooge, for, wholly forgetting the interest he had in what was going on, that his voice made no sound in their ears, he sometimes came out with his guess quite loud, and very often guessed quite right, too, for the sharpest needle, best Whitechapel, guaranteed not to cut in the eye. There was not sharper than Scrooge, as blunt as he took it in his head to be. The ghost was pleased to find him in his mood, and looked upon him with such favor, and that he begged like a boy to be allowed to stay until the guests departed. But this the spirit said could not be done. "Here is a new game," said Scrooge. 1/2 hour. Spirit. Only one. It was a game called Yes and No. Oh. Where Scrooge's nephew had to think of something, and the rest might find out what. He only answering to the questions yes or no, as the case was. The brisk fire of questioning, too, which he was exposed, excited from him what he is thinking of an animal, a live animal, Rather a disagreeable animal, a savage animal. An animal that growled and grunted sometimes. Like a certain puppy. Woof. And talked sometimes and lived in London. Well, a bit different from the puppy. And walked about the streets and wasn't made a show of and wasn't led by anybody and didn't live in a menagerie and was never killed in a market. It was not a horse or an ass or a cow or a bull or a tiger or a dog or a pig or a cat or a bear. At every fresh question that was put to him, his nephew burst into a fresh roar of laughter, and he was inexpressibly tickled. But he was obliged to get off the sofa and stamp. At last the plump sister, falling into a similar state, cried out, "I've found it! I know what it is!" "Fred, I know what it is. What is it?" cried Fred. "It's your Uncle Scrooge." Which it certainly was. Admiration was a universal sentiment, for some objected that the reply to "Is it a bear?" ought to have been yes, in as much as an answer in the negative was sufficient to have diverted their thoughts from Mr. Scrooge, supposing they ever had the tendency in that way. "He has given us plenty of merriment, I am sure," said Fred, "and it would be very ungrateful not to drink to his health. And here is a glass full of mulled wine ready to our hand at the moment. And I say, Uncle Scrooge." "Well, Uncle Scrooge," they cried, "a merriment and a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to the old man, wherever he is," said Scrooge's nephew. "He couldn't take it from me, but he may have it nonetheless, Uncle Scrooge." Uncle Scrooge had imperceptibly become so gay, and light of heart, that he would have been pledged the unconscious company in return, and thanked him in an inaudible speech, if the ghost had given him but time. Well, the whole scene passed off in the breadth of the last spoken word by his nephew, and he and the spirit were again upon their travels. Much they saw, and far they went. Many homes they visited, but always with a happy end. Oh, yes. Very gay for Christmas, yes. But always with a happy end. The spirit stood beside sick beds, and they were cheerful. In foreign lands, and they were always close to home by struggling men, and they were patient in their greater hope. By poverty it was rich, in almshouse, in hospital and jail. "'Tis the season to be jolly, darling." Remember, be gay, do crime. Oh no, we wouldn't want that, Vitor. In almshouse, hospital, and jail, in misery is every refuge, where vain men, in his little brief authority, had not made the fast of the door, and barred the spirit out. He left his blessing, and taught Scrooge his precepts. It was a long night, but only a night. But Scrooge had had his doubts of this, because the Christmas holidays appeared to be condensed into the space of time they had passed together. It was strange, too, for while Scrooge remained unaltered on his outward form, the ghost grew older, clearly older. Scrooge had observed this change, but never spoke of it, until they left the child's 20th night party, when, looking at the spirit as they stood together in an open place, he noticed that its hair was gray. Oh no, the gay stuff. "Are the spirits' lives so short?" asked Scrooge. "My life upon this globe is very brief," replied the ghost. "It ends tonight." "Tonight?" cried Scrooge. "Tonight at midnight. Hark! The time is drawing near." The chimes were ringing the 3/4 past 11 at that moment. "Forgive me if I am not justified in what I ask," said Scrooge, looking intently at the spirit's robe, "but I see something strange and not belonging to yourself protruding from your skirts." Is that a foot or a claw? It might be a claw, for the flesh there is upon it, was the spirit's joyful reply, or sorrowful reply. Look here. From the foldings of its robe it brought 2 children, wretched, abject, frightful, hideous, and miserable. They knelt down at its feet, and clung upon the outside of its garments. "Oh, man, look here, look down here," exclaimed the ghost. There were a boy and a girl, yellow, mangered, ragged, scowling, wolfish, but prostrate too, in their humility, where graceful youth should have been filled their futures out, and touched them to its freshest tints. A stale, shriveled hand, like that of age, had pinched and twisted them, pulled them out to shreds where angels might have sat enthroned, devils lurked, and glared out menacingly. No change, no degradation, no perversion of humanity in any grade, though all the miseries of wonderful creation has monsters half so horrible and dread. Scrooge stared back, appalled, having them shown to him in this way. He tried to say that they were fine children, but the words choked themselves, rather than be parties to a lie of such enormous magnitude. "Spirit, are they yours?" Scrooge could say no more. "They are man's," said the spirit, looking down upon them, "and they cling to me, appealing from their fathers, the boy's ignorance, the girl's want. Beware them both, in all their degree, but most of all beware this boy, for on his brow I see that written which is doom, unless the writing be erased. Deny it," cried the spirit, stretching out his hand toward the city. "Slander those who tell it ye. Admit it for your factious purposes, and make it worse, and abide the end. Have they no refuge or resource?" cried Scrooge. Are there no prisons?" said the spirit, turning on him for the last time with his own words. "Are there no workhouses?" The bell struck 12. Scrooge looked about for the ghost, and saw it not. As the last stroke ceased to vibrate, he remembered the prediction of old Jacob Marley. Lifting up his eyes, beheld a solemn phantom, draped, hooded, coming like a mist along the ground towards him. Oh. And that, darlings, was A Christmas Carol, Stave Free. I could read to you the second stave 4. I'm sure you'd enjoy that too. So, I might. Let me go figure out how long this one is. Yeah. Honestly, I think my throaty is good. I might split it up in another stream, or I might do it now. I honestly don't quite know. I could do it tonight, in fact. Actually, it wouldn't be a problem. My throat is, frankly, not quite well. It's a bit scratchy. Has a dry spot in the back from where saliva has yet to cover it, but I think I might just do some ASMR for you. Okay? Oh, it's really no different. Just normal ASMR stream. There. Let me go. Okay. Christmas ASMR. That's a rare bit, though. Later tonight. There. Oh, Vitor. Non-verbal ASMR, honestly, is quite an easy thing to do, especially if you're frizzy like this. I don't have any good honey or any sugary drink, or not sugary drinks, but honey I could add to nice hot water, but that should be nice. But for now, let me go do a thing to the model. I'll quickly mute my mic and do a thing. Okay. Welcome in, Maurice. You finally come to the non-verbal ASMR part, or verbal ASMR, depending on what you want. I can do either right now, but it's really your choice. Don't mind me as I, oh, cocoa. Oh, nice, nice. Don't mind the fact that my model has no hands, so I'll just put it right there. There. Okay. There. Is today Monday? No. It's not Monday. Good. That's what straws are for. No one needs hands. No. So, Maurice, a long time ago, I hit my head. I had a little sledding accident in the snow, and ever since then, the days, I just can't discern against them. Oh God, look, why is that face so horrible looking? Why? It looks, at least the tracking's better. It just looks so broken. I honestly don't know. But let me add a sugar or candy cane here. Make it very wrong thing. I is streamer. How you do? I think it's under cane. There it is. Okay, darlings. Let me ask you this question. Red candy cane or green candy cane? Which one would you appreciate, babe? I mean, red? Okay. Red it is. Let's be all festive. There. Red because Austria. Oh, yes. Austrian pride. Here I thought you weren't really patriotic, sword darling. Okay. There. Permanently affixed to le modèle. Good thinking, Maurice. Okay. Non-verbal ASMR time. Okay. So, darling, how's your day? I know for some of you it's, oh my, it's getting near 4 o'clock. Around 5. So late. But I suppose it's a great time to listen to ASMR. Oh, you just woke up, Maury. Well, that's good. Always waking up refreshed. It's just so great. Especially if you get plenty of sleep. I, for example, don't think I have to wake up from fun to leave. I was listening to you and Kai. It was a very fun stream to listen to as I modded. As mine, someone's debut stream. And it went pretty well too. Would greatly recommend debuts if you frankly ever feel like it, but I don't think I'll ever do a proper big giant debut, because a debutante just seems unnecessary for me. I do ASMR and just let people enjoy themselves. Do I really need to say hello, dearest chat member? This is my model debut. I don't think so. Did I technically title a stream months long ago model debut? Yes. When I say long ago, I mean last month. But that's a long time, you know. Between all the flirting, the fun having, talking with cuties. It's a long time, a month. But now, would you like me to try some tapping ASMR? Or would you like me to do some other ASMR? I want to try some tapping, because it feels like it's been a while. You know? So tap, 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 tap. Oh, you're a typical dog boy. Good boy, Mari. Good boy. And you want hugs too. You know, I'm actually curious about something. Okay. Good boy, hugs and headbats. No problem with that. I just want to quickly look up something, darling. Google Translate. I want to make this real nice for you, so I'll put on my headphones and prepare. Oops, sorry. I want to put on my headphones and create a bunch of noise that I put on headphones. And say something real nice, okay? Okay. Bye-bye now, Panda. Have a good time, Panda. And remember, I always love and enjoy you, so please relax. Have a fun day. Just Ali. Let me go find it here. Oh, there it is. Okay. There. Okay. Faroese. Is Faroese... Oh, a punish you. Oh, I can add that at some point. So, is Faroese, close to Danish and Norwegian or Icelandic? Because I can call you a Gotring or Gotring or whatever it is. Okay. Let me just put this back on for the good boy. Gotring. I'm aware that you speak 3 languages, and I believe the Faroe Islands were bought from Danish, yeah. So speaking Danish, even though it may sound like you have a potato in your mouth, is kind of an easy way to do it, you know. But now, for the redeem style. I want to degrade to... I think that's what the bad boy is, Vidor. Okay. Here, Maurice. Just put your head on my chest. I'll give you a nice warm hug. And I'll put a little blanket over you. A cute blanket. One with a bunch of polka dots, pink colors, and rainbows all over it with unicorns. You know, only the cute kind. And I'll pet your head to give you some nice head pats. Okay, some nice, cozy head pats. And you know, you've been doing such a good job with your streams, being so nice, entertaining. And when you're on Kai's stream, I really enjoyed you being there, listening to you as I mod. Now, you weren't there when I woke up, but that's alright. You have to do your own things, you know. But you really are such a good, sweet boy. May you have a beautiful day ahead of you, darling. I know I'm not saying that right, but oh well. Does it really matter? Oh, I don't want angry face. Does it matter? I don't think so. Just as long as you're saying it nice enough. Oh, how am I meant to say it? You see, I don't speak Danish. So. And for you, Vitor. You bad, bad boy. You bad boy. What'd you do now, Vitor? Did you spill the milk? Being such a bad boy. Did you send someone the wrong message? Did you mistranslate something? What did you do? You bad, bad boy. Up to no good, are you? Vitor. Oh, you spilled the milk, Maury. Oh my. I do hope it wasn't the femboy milk you were putting so much effort into harvesting. It takes so much effort to get it, you know. It tastes a little bit like strawberries and banana, you know? Oh, you added milk to my tea, Vitor. How nice. How very sweet of you to add milk to my tea. All over its place? No. 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 There is nothing wrong with this, okay? You can just slurp it up. I'm sure you have experience in slurping things, Maurice. Oh, you don't have experience in slurping? Well, you can certainly train that up. But anyway. I don't know if you heard that, but wow. let me just scratch. Getting a bit lightheaded from all that. That was quite nice, you know. Every noise. Vidor, what sussy stuff are you getting? You better not be too sus. Okay. I know I'm a glow stick. Yo es un glow stick. Soy glow stick. I don't remember my Spanish. It's been far too long. Far, far, far. And here I was wanting to know more so I could flirt better. Darling, why do you think you're the only cursed one? There's plenty of cursed here. Plenty of cursed. 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 Oh. Is anyone truly cursed? No. Only say so here. Only say so. Nothing cursed at all. Let me go remember what these are. Oui. Nothing is Castile, mon chéri. Désolé. Suspicion. Veel mind is good in a trip. You can't work out because I love you too much, baby. So I can just see what you're doing to me. And I don't believe how bad I see. Frenchman is now over. La France has ended. Vive la France. You know this finger noises. Do you like this finger noises, Darius? Not sure if you can completely hear it, but it's alright, isn't it? I have an idea. Tell me, darling. Would any of you like to see me wear those, e-boy rings? You know, those ones with all the symbols and what have you. I personally don't care for the e-boy rings terribly much, but They are always enjoyable, you know? I do enjoy them. Oh, I mean, if you can stay here for a little bit, darling, I can get some rings and put them on and show you them, but they're not really the E-boy type. They're more so the flashy Fibonacci? Scabarachi? Let me go look them up. Liberace. Liberace. Yeah. I mean, he's definitely gay. Oh, we gotta go to the ophthalmologist. Okay. Bye-bye, Vitor, honey. Have a wonderful time. Try, to have all of your fun. I know it's never really fun, but bye-bye now. Be well. Be happy. Be kind. Oh, it's, more so that I just don't remember, hon. It's just been so long. Okay. I think it's Victor's jaw. He has some, stress, something or other. Anyway, I will be right back, sweetie. And I will show you all the cute rings I have. So, in the meantime, I will mute my mic. I'll be right back, sweetie, with all the rings you want to see. You really heard that sucking, didn't you? Okay, I'm back, sweeties. I got a whole bunch of rings. I'll take pictures. Oh, cheap noodles. Cheap noodles. Okay, open my camera shutter back. Wow. Let me just copy this over. place. Really? You can't take the spice? I try sound rings. There. Definitely nothing sus here. Nothing sus. The title has not changed to Sussy Wussy in a bit. Nope. Okay, let me take on my headphones. There. Now that I've taken that off, let me go over here. Tell me, darling. Oh. I mean, Kane, darling. I've seen that tummy. It's very nice. Okay. Oh, that's. Okay. Okay. Should I change the screen to Frankfurt on mine? Fiend, Shrek, UC Berkeley, or some user submitted image? I have frankly plenty. See? This one looks more e-boy like, if you will. I know. This is what happens. There. Finger fluttering. There. Let me just turn the fire down. There. You won't hear a thing. I'll take my model and just move that right here. Hide you. And now I have to begin ready to add a bunch of pictures. Wow. Sure. You drop the end of your charger and then almost put it in the mouth to get the soup off. Said charger is plugged out. One day I'm going to electrocute myself on sheer accident. My. Here, let me delete that. Okay, there we go. Oh, phone call. Gonna promptly ignore that. Okay. Let me go take some photos of these. Now, I don't think these are particularly amazing rings. They are. I do have plenty. I'm honestly trying to figure out which ones fit where, because I have a problem that most of these here rings are size 8-ish, you know? And frankly look very nice, but not all of them fit. Ooh. I'll take off this one because it just seems a bit much. Well, this is a perfect ring finger. Ooh, my favorite one with a little crystal on it. Choke on your own spit? I mean, fair, you do make a lot of spit. Okay. Get ready to see my bad attempt at things. Here, chat. I'll send the pictures first to a few people. I don't know what for who first, but I'll show you in just a second. Okay. Man. Oh, thank you. Now, I will warn you, they aren't really the femboy-like rings. They're more, how shall I say? Ooh, very nice. They're more so, cute rings, you know. Yeah. I think I might have to try moving this to middle finger if I can. Ooh, I feel like if I put that one on, it won't come off, sweetie. So that one, no. I could put back on my, will this fit my, honestly, half of these rings don't fit anymore, just because I've lost a lot of weight. Oh, thank you. Thank you, sweetie. Okay. Now let me go take these photos I have. Being very careful. Not. Okay. I'm going to take the rings and add them in just a second. Okay. So, this is Rings Example 1. Specimen 1. Isn't that... I'm always sorry that my phone just takes weird photos, you know. It always decides to focus on something odd like the back of my hand, but never... It's gonna be alright. But never on rings I really want, you know. Gonna be alright. I might have to retake this one because I have another one on. So let me take off this cute one. add this one only to replace it in a sec. Okay. Also, I might sing a little song in just a second. Not an actual song, more so in a ASMR like way. So, wow, absolutely amazing. So there are some rings right there. Beautiful, aren't they? Just beautiful. Very beautiful. Very beautiful. Very beautiful. But I'll probably end after I show you all of them, because sometimes you just don't need to show all of your stuff. Though in my... the one on your right pointy finger is definitely my favorite. You have a preference for... you'd say you have a preference for the more basic ones. Okay, okay. By the way, in case you haven't zoomed in on design, it has a nice little bee on it. Now, call me gay, but my personal favorite isn't one you've actually seen. Here, honey, I'll show you in just a second. It's gonna be alright. It's gonna be alright. I take it back. The bee is my favorite. That's so cute. Little bee ring. Bee ring. You're blushing, Nico. How cute of you. How cute. Very cute boy. Very good. Very good. Let me just try to figure out which ones I can put on and where. Because I have plenty of rings I want to show you, babe. Plenty. Though I will gladly admit, I do have my favorites. I know it's horrible of me, but that's just what happens. Okay? Just what happens. Okay. Favoritism happens, babe. Let me go try and find... my god. Okay, I took another photo. Okay, there you go. There you go. Now with that one I should be able to send you. Okay. And remember, please tell me how you enjoy them. I personally have a little favoritism towards a certain blue one. You've already seen it, but very cute. Here. I'll replace that one, okay? Very good. Oh, engraved one. If you mean the gold one on my right index, then yes, it is. It's one I got, I believe, off of Amazon. It's surprisingly nice. Though it also has its problems because you can wear it and you can feel a pin move into your finger. So, not the best in terms of wearability. And the image is inverted. Rotate. Where is rotate? Oh, God. Sizing fit. Okay. Ignore this chat as, can I press R to rotate? Nope, can't press R to rotate. Okay, ignore the jank chat. So, I will begin just for you. So, in terms of all the rings to which I have my possession, okay. There. My personal favorite is that little one on my middle finger. I think it's nice. It's sterling silver. Has some stone in it I got from ages ago, and I do mean ages ago. I think I've had that ring for nearing on a decade now. My. Now that is a long time, is it not? Sadly, I still have to polish it soon because it's beginning to tarnish the sterling. And it is showing its age. But that's what happens. Toothpaste works so well for polishing silver. Ah, yes. Due to the aggregate inside of it. I've also been told that baking soda and water does it quite well. Though, somewhere floating around, I do have some polish. And oh yeah, I can definitely smell the sterling. That's honestly not too odd when you think about it. So. Also, again, silver has become tarnished. Oh, I forgot about the little Mjolnir. I came here from Calming Tab, and I get a handsome voice here that does the opposite. I mean, thank you so much, darling. It's certainly not the first time. But please do enjoy yourself here. Sit back, relax. You can leave a follow if you really want to. That way you can come back.
Nice.
Thank you so much, darling. It really means a lot to have someone subscribe or follow me. So much. Let me go take off one of these rings. It's a expandable one, so it just doesn't have the same level of comfort I like from rings. I do hope you don't like that, or don't hate that, babe. I can put on a different one on that finger, so you won't know. notice a difference. Though I do have a red bejeweled one with little glass crystals in it. You do have some pretty junky jewelry. I know, it's like a hodgepodge. Some of them I like greatly. For example, let me quickly show you there. For example, let me embiggen you large. So, as you can see on that pinky ring right there, or pinky, the ring with all the little pearls, you know. That one is a personal favorite. In the middle, there are these small little crystals. And they just look so damn cute. And the blue, you don't really see it too well in this picture because a problem that my phone has is that the depth at which it takes its photos is just so damn low, you know? I don't know why, but it just does. It just does. I think I'll put this ring back on. I'm sure you won't mind making a little different sound there and there. So fabulous indeed. Howl Pentagon, or Pendragon. Howl Pendragon. I gotta be honest with you, babes. That means nothing to me. Let me go look them up. Howl's Moving Castle. Would you believe it? Oh, sorry, didn't be there. Would you believe it? I haven't. I have never watched Howl's Moving Castle. I know, it's a bit odd, but Howell Jenkins Pendragon. Oh, you can rectify it, babes. Oh, kind of you. When would you like to do that? Exactly. Haru Jenkins Penno Dragono is a powerful wizard living in the land of Ingari. Originally Howell Jenkins of Wales. A Welsh. He made his way through a magical portal to Ingari, where he became known and respected as one of the most powerful wizards there ever was. He owns a moving castle and spreads rumors about himself to retain his privacy, opting to be alone and hiding from all conflict. Oh, most dramatic a little bit, you say. My. Oh no. I noticed a little ding on my ring. Mein Gott. It smells like silver too. I'm definitely washing my hands after this, you know. Howell Jenkins was born to an ordinary family in modern-day Wales. Oh, whoa. He found himself anything but ordinary. He was gifted for natural talent. A natural talent for magic. And even began studying it in college. He wrote his thesis on magical spells and charms, and joined a group of other gifted magicians. In Wales, Howell had a habit of going out with girls, then jilting them, in an attempt to hide from free, angry rugby players, whose sister he had jilted. He cast a spell that opened a portal to another land, Ngari, where he had moved almost permanently. Still young, he took up tutelage under Mrs. Pensa Stramon. He became her last pupil and one of her favorites. Wow. His natural gift for magic was shown. He was quite powerful. He was in the same league as a witch of the waste. Howell is a wizard in the land of Ngari. He has several names. He is known as the Wizard of Howell and Market Chipping, Wizard Pendragon in the capital of Kingsbury, Jenkins the Sorcerer, and No Cass Porthaven. One night on the Port Haven marshes, Howell caught a falling star named Calcifer and made a contract with him. He gave his heart to the creature, binding them forever, allowing Calcifer to live, for he felt sorry for him, while boosting his own magical power. After doing so, Howell quit his apprenticeship and became a hermit. He dyed his hair and spent all of his money on makeup and clothing. Oh my. And that. My. And spent his days wooing young ladies until he fell in love with them, then jilted them. During this time, Howell found Michael Fisher sleeping on his doorstep and invited him in. Howell was impressed by Calcifer's reaction to Michael, though he never explicitly told Michael he could stay. Oh, purr. Okay. Now that was a kind thing, you know, allowing him to stay. Howell allowed him to live in the castle, eventually making him his apprentice. Also, during this time, Howell courted and dumped the Witch of the Waste to put a curse on him. But avoid contact with them as much as possible. Okay, now I'm going to do finger flirting just for a bit. It's gonna be alright. Gonna be alright. Gonna be alright. Oh, sure, Susan. I have no problems with that. Just kiss my hands. Here. Hope you enjoyed that. Gonna be alright. It's gonna be okay. Just relax. Yes. It's gonna be alright. Let me just massage those ears for a minute, babe. You know what those be, okay? I know there's howls within the castle. What else is there? Just in English. Traumschiff. If you want to listen to a good song, Rummerschloff has a good one called Chefbruch. I'll send you a link to that one after. Chefbruch. Chefbruch. Yep. I think that's how it's spelled, but 100% don't remember. But it's pretty good. He also has a nice one called Salutare. That one, pretty good too. It's not sung by him, so I know it has some quality singing. I'm aware. You get to see a man eat a foot. Shift forward. That was a weird frill noise. Sweet dreams, man. I only have a little bit left, so be well, darling. Oh, that's a very cute emote. Very Prince Eugen. Prince Eugen. Welcome in, Sabrina's house. Be well. Oh, this won't be terribly much longer, Sion. But thank you so much for coming, darling. It means a lot. So much. Tidarlena, Sion. Be well. Be merry. That's understandable. That's understandable. Just be well, Sabrina. Be well, darling. Yes. Oh, thank you so much, sweetheart. Also, I have all these fingers up for you, so I'll send you the pics afterwards. But be well now. Thank you, Egg. If you have any, what is it? I don't think you can see all of my rings, especially since one hand is covering up the other and the other is covering up the other. In some sort of strange Ouroboros. But that's alright. I can fix it real quick, babe. Okay, you can see it now. Okay, good. I will pause that. And I know one thing I have to do before I go. Oh, what cutie. Quick question. Are you still there, Kane? If you are, I have the perfect ending I want to do. Okay? I want okay. Arf, arf, you like pups. Bjork. Okay. Bjork. And let me find a wolf. Okay, I think it's in the park. I cannot type today. What about dog? Okay, there. There. That, everyone, will be the nice little raid message. Please do copy it, babe. It should be nice. No. You'll see when we raid them, babe. You'll understand. And let me go edit stream to there we go. Okay. And raid. There. Okay. Just minor shots. Be well, be merry. Remember that I love and cheers you all. And please remember